Today we will answer the question, was the inspiration for Betty Boop a Black American woman? The answer to that is yes and no. But before I answer that, I need to debunk something. So if you Google photos of Betty Boop, like the real Betty Boop, you might see this photo. This is not Betty Boop. This is not the inspiration for Betty Boop. We actually do not even know who this woman is. We know that she was taken by a very famous Harlem Renaissance photographer, but we actually do not know her identity. So this is not Betty Boop. You may also see this photo that is attributed to being some sort of a old Hollywood star. I got news for you. These photographs were taken in 2008. That's right. These are not vintage photos. These are not photos of some long lost, golden age actress. No, this is a European actress. Her name is Olya Gussie, and this was like an artist's rendition of like a Betty Boop photo shoot or whatever. These photos are not Betty Boop. This is Max Fleischer. He is the animator for Betty Boop. He came up with her as a design. She actually started out as a dog. She was a poodle until she became a human. I couldn't find photos though. So Betty is a 1920s flapper, okay? These were the city girls of the 1920s, okay? They were out here, honey. They were bobbing their hair. They were smoking cigarettes. They were doing the Charleston at the Cotton Club with Black people. They were out here living life, okay? Out here. And this is what Betty's character was, like kind of sexy, just sexy lady. Don't worry, I'm going to get to the Black history part of this, but you need to stick with me. Stick with me. Max Fleischer had an actress in mind that he modeled Betty after. She was a very famous actress at the time. Her name was Helen Kane. Okay, and this was her. She looks a lot like Betty, or I guess Betty looks a lot like her. She made the song very popular, the I wanna be loved by you, and nobody else but you. That's her song. She also had a signature thing that she did, this boop boop be doo. Very familiar, right? Betty does that. Betty Boop becomes a very popular cartoon, and Helen Kane was like, run me my money. Run me my money. Y'all stole my likeness for this character. Run me my money. She takes him to court. She sues Paramount and Max Fleischer. So during this trial, which lasted about 2 weeks, it is revealed that Helen actually stole her baby voice, boop boop be doo, all of that stuff from somebody else. This is the person she stole it from. Meet Baby Esther, an actual child. It is alleged that Helen Kane stole her act from an actual little girl. But this is not just any little girl, you guys. Now, Little Esther, or Baby Esther, was an incredibly well-known and very popular international child star of the late 20s, early 1930s. Why have you never heard of this child? I hate saying like people are the Black version of like insert white celebrity, but she was kind of like the Black Shirley Temple. She predates Shirley Temple, actually. It is alleged that Helen Kane went to see Baby Esther at a performance. Baby Esther was performing at a nightclub, as little girls do. Baby Esther had a singing style that she would do, which we now call scat, scoobity wop bop. She did that. That's what Baby Esther did. And that was a part of her act. And shortly after this show, allegedly, Helen Kane all of a sudden was doing this boop boop be doo act in her performances. By the way, Baby Esther, with her, scat music and oobity wop bop boobity bop stuff, was emulating a very famous star at the time, Florence Mills, who was a Black singer at the time. She died very young. She died at like age 31. But Baby Esther was emulating her style. So Baby Esther did not testify at this trial, but her manager did. And he testified that Helen Kane had like creeped into this nightclub and was watching Baby Esther perform. But the real smoking gun was this. The defense was able to produce recordings of Baby Esther singing songs in a very similar style to what Helen Kane sang in. And Helen Kane lost this case. The judge considered it proof that Helen Kane stole her whole act from this little girl. So Baby Esther, or Little Esther, was born in 1918 in Chicago, Illinois, and she got her first start at stardom when she won first place in a Charleston contest at age 6. And shortly thereafter, she got a manager, and next thing you know, this little girl is traveling all over the world performing. So the Chicago Defender, which was a black newspaper, reported in 1929 that Lil Esther was the highest paid child artist in the world. I think one of the reasons that we don't know a lot about her in the US is because most of her stardom was overseas. This little girl performed for royalty. Like literally, this little girl performed for the Swedish royal family, the Spanish royal family, the British royal family. When she was in Brazil, the American ambassador was intent on wanting to see her perform because she was such a good dancer, and she also did gymnastics, and she was a good singer too. When she was in Paris, she performed at the Moulin Rouge. Her shows were completely sold out. People loved seeing this little girl perform. She was interviewed in like a lot of newspapers. So we do not have recordings of her performing, unfortunately. I haven't been able to find any. I don't know if there are any that are available, but there are a lot of print articles that you can find about Baby Esther from international newspapers. Like, check this out. Lil Esther plays before Royal Palace. Baby Esther, a hit in Paris. And there was a very interesting event that happened in Sweden. So Esther was performing in Stockholm, Sweden, and she went to a restaurant that was owned by an American expatriate. This American refused to serve Esther and her party because she was black. You can take the American racist out of America, but you can't take the racism out of the American. The Swedish people were scandalized by this. They were like, do not bring that Jim Crow shit up in here. We are not about that life. There were dignitaries from Sweden that spoke up on Baby Esther's behalf. They harassed this restaurant owner to the point where she had to close her restaurant. So it is confirmed that by 1934, Baby Esther was back in the US because she was dancing for Cab Calloway, the very famous band leader. But after 1934, there's nothing about Baby Esther or Lil Esther. Like, you cannot find anything about her. People don't know what happened to her, which is the craziest thing to me. What happened to Baby Esther? If you look online, you might see stories that she passed away in 1934 as a teenager. That hasn't really been confirmed. You'll also see stories that she passed away in the 80s, but that also hasn't been confirmed. We actually have no idea what happened to her, which is wild to me. So we need to get on the case because we got to find out whatever happened to Baby Esther, because somebody knows what happened to this little girl, and I would love to know like how her story ended. I would love to know that she actually grew up as an adult and got to live like a quiet life, because she worked her entire childhood.